What's up, everybody? My name is Tucker. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Indiana Pacers rebuild. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like rating on it and check out the channel as well and subscribe for more videos just like this every single day. With those things said, let's go ahead and get started. Before we get started, one of the dogs scratched me. That's why I have a scratch on my face. Do your best to ignore it. Let's talk about the Pacers. So this is interestingly timed. We did a trade machine on the Indiana Pacers a couple of days ago, anticipating that they might want to make some moves. They might want to make some changes. And then yesterday we get a report from Shams that they're doing exactly that. They are looking to move towards a rebuild with a couple of guys in mind that they want to kind of move on from. There's actually a lot of different pieces on this roster that I could see other teams being interested in. But mostly they name the main guys, which are Caris Levert, Myles Turner, and Domantas Sabonis. So I want to talk about kind of the situation Indiana is now in, what this means for them moving forward, some trade possibilities for each of those guys. But again, if you want like really specific fake trade stuff, there is a trade machine from a couple of days ago about Indiana. So it's weird that Indiana finds themselves in this situation because a lot of the things, or almost everything they did this offseason, pointed towards a team that wanted to continue to be kind of in the middle, right? Bringing in Rick Carlisle, who's a veteran head coach who had success in Dallas, won a title there, continually had them in the playoff picture, and then drafting someone like Chris Duarte, who was the most NBA-ready player in the entire draft at 24 years old. And both of those moves spoke to a team that wanted to continue to do what they've been doing and build around Sabonis and Turner and Levert and try and be like a top 6 team in the East. And that's what I thought they would be coming into the year. I thought that that was the caliber of team that they were, coming into the year, and they just haven't been that. And part of it's been injury stuff. I remember opening night, they were missing like 5 guys due to injury or otherwise. But even when they've been healthy in some of these games, they just haven't been all that competitive. And it's a situation that probably is just broken. And I talked about this the other day. I probably just undervalued, the importance of Victor Oladipo to this roster. And now that obviously he hasn't been there and they're missing that perimeter creator, it's just not the same level of group. And the first question I have primarily is like, I can't imagine that when Rick Carlisle took the job, he thought that he was going to be going to a rebuilding team. I'd have to think that him as a veteran coach, it's been around a long time, wanted to go to a situation where he felt like the team was going to be competitive for the playoffs, similar to where Dallas was at. And that's obviously not going to be the case. They're looking to move these guys. And so that brings into question if Carlisle is going to continue to stay. Not that he's going to get fired necessarily, but just that he might talk to them and be like, hey, this is not what I signed up for. I was not anticipating being a rebuilding coach. And so if this is like a long-term rebuild type situation, we might be in a situation where, Rick Carlisle already is not going to be a part of the Pacers plan moving forward is kind of the first thing that I thought about when this report came out yesterday. So let's talk about the 3 different guys here. It's Levert, it's Turner, and it's Sabonis. There are other pieces here, TJ Warren when he gets healthy. Brogdon can't be traded because they signed him to an extension, which is a bit of unfortunate timing. But let's talk about these 3 guys. Levert's value is a little bit difficult to kind of pinpoint because when he was really a trade piece with the Nets, was this interesting, still young combo scoring guard that was involved in the James Harden stuff. And they essentially swapped Victor Oladipo for Caris Levert because Oladipo didn't want to be there anymore. And ultimately, I think that ended up being a good trade. But for a couple of different reasons, Levert's value just isn't the same as when he was with Brooklyn. He's now 27. He has had a variety of different injury and health issues, unfortunately. And it's just, he's not like a crazy valuable asset. He's still someone that can help a team as a scorer. But I think at the time that maybe there was some hype that he could be like a secondary scorer on a really good team. And I'm not sure that's where his value is right now across the league. Not to mention, not a lot of teams really need guard help unless it's like a bench wing to come in and score. And I think Caris Levert is a little bit better than that. So we'll get to some team-specific stuff here in a little bit. But Levert as a player value-wise is probably the least valuable player out of this group. The guy that's probably the most valuable, surprisingly, is Myles Turner. No disrespect to Domantas Sabonis, who we'll talk about in a second. But Turner's game just fits in a lot of different situations and is a guy that a lot of teams would like to have. He can defend the rim. He's a very good defensive player. Can play the 5 full time and stay in front of perimeter players as well. Has that floor spacing ability where it's not like he's going to be shooting 50% from 3 or anything, but if you put him out there, he's not a zero floor spacing wise and can be a good rim roller as well. And so That's a role that's specifically for contenders, which is primarily who are going to be looking to take these guys off the Pacers' hands, that really, really fits in a lot of different situations. And again, it's no disrespect to Domantas Sabonis, but it more so the value aspect of this comes into like how desirable are you to a lot of different teams. And I think Turner across the board is more valuable to more teams than Sabonis is. That's not to say that Domantas Sabonis is not a valuable player, because he absolutely is. He's an all-star caliber guy, a really good offensive presence, can pass the ball, can punish mismatches inside. The problem for him has almost always been that he doesn't really have a position, because he doesn't have a position that he can guard. He can't really guard fours when teams are playing some of these smaller lineups, and you can play him at the small ball 5 and he'll absolutely destroy teams offensively, but defensively he's just not going to be all that good. And so that's where that lack of versatility comes into play in terms of limiting his trade value directly in comparison to someone like Myles Turner that can do a lot of different things. If you're trading for Domantas Sabonis, you're going to need to have that inside scoring presence, or you're going to need that inside scoring presence and deal with some of the issues for him defensively. That's why I brought up in that trade machine video the possibility of Sabonis going to Golden State as an option. Of course, Turner is another guy as well that's been mentioned for the Warriors. So let's talk specifically about some potential trade spots for each of these teams. It is actually pretty difficult when you look around the league right now, just because the picture is really, really unclear. The closer we get to the deadline, the clearer things are going to be in terms of teams that are buying and teams that are selling. I think there are some teams that are still trying to figure out where they fall in that, because the middle of the standings in each conference are very, very jumbled up still. So it is actually pretty difficult to find a spot for each of these guys. Primarily for Levert, I was thinking about Philadelphia. It's unlikely it's going to be enough to get, Ben Simmons, unless there's some other combination of things, but either Turner or Sabonis doesn't really fit in Philly. So it gets a little bit weird a little bit quickly. But when you're looking at contenders that still need some of that perimeter scoring presence, a creator, a ball handler, Caris Levert is certainly a guy that can help Philadelphia, and Philly's a team that could be looking to add a player like that. If they can do it without involving Simmons and maybe just using some picks or something like that, I think Levert is someone that could absolutely help that team, and that would be the team primarily that I would imagine would be interested. There are other options, teams like Boston and things like that, but Philly is the first one that comes to mind. For Turner, it is the Warriors. It's just difficult to project Warriors trades right now because they're playing so well. And any trade that would involve any kind of significant salary would need to do one of two things for them. They'd either need to trade Wiggins, who's been remarkably valuable for them, or they would need to trade multiple of the young guys, Kuminga, Wiseman, to get to like Turner's $20 million number. And at that point, like that feels like a lot of young guys to trade in exchange for a player even as valuable and as perfect of a fit as Myles Turner would be as a rim roller at the 5, as a defender, as a floor spacer. My one issue for the Turner fit, and that's why I brought up Sabonis in that previous video, is the way that Golden State plays offensively fits what Sabonis does better because he is such a good passer. And Turner trying to find his place in that could be a bit of an issue, but if they just use him as a roller and a shooter, then defensively he would help them out a ton. It's a team that already has been awesome defensively to begin the season. But again, the problem for Golden State is either that involves Wiggins or multiple young guys. And if, I don't know if Myles Turner's what they had in mind in terms of like an all-in move here. And they're playing so well, and there's the uncertainty of you don't know what Klay Thompson looks like. If Klay Thompson comes back and looks incredible, they might not want to mess with anything, and then your Myles Turner trade targets do start to shrink a little bit. There are other options, but the most obvious contender that needs a big in the kind of the style of Myles Turner would be Golden State, and so that's why I mentioned them there. And last up for Sabonis, like I said, you could talk about the Warriors thing. There's some relatively interesting stuff here with like Toronto, with, maybe swapping Siakam or something like that. But here's the problem, not only with Toronto, but with Sabonis in general. There's just not a lot of teams that are contenders or teams that are looking to add pieces that need a player like Sabonis. A lot of teams that are contenders need defense. They need wings. They need guys that can guard and can shoot around their other established players. They don't really need another like all-star caliber front court scoring guy. The only team I would mention here apart from Toronto and like some kind of weird, potentially horizontal swap would be Boston. We talked about this in the trade machine video the other day. Maybe you involve Marcus Smart in some way. But again, that's a team that's stepping it up. That's a team that's been playing well lately. And without Jaylen Brown being healthy and the weird year that he's had, I'm not sure that Boston would be super excited about trying to, go in and get somebody here to add to this group, not knowing what their true ceiling is with kind of the uncertainty of Jaylen Brown. So the bottom line is, I appreciate Indiana trying to do something different, trying to shake up the roster, trying to give themselves a higher ceiling, move some of these pieces. It's something I've advocated for teams like Portland this week. However, it might not be as clean of a fit trade-wise as you would hope to see across the league in terms of like, oh, it's super easy to find a Levert, Turner, Sabonis fit and then move forward from there. I like what they're trying to do. I do think it's the correct decision. It's a team that's 10-16 and going nowhere, but it's probably not going to be as easy of a fit as you might initially think when you look and see that they do have a couple of different trade pieces that would be intriguing to contenders, but situationally, it's a bit odd. Once we get closer to the deadline, things will become more clear, but if you're looking for a trade within like the next week or so, I find that pretty unlikely at the moment for Indiana. But that is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you guys very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, be sure to check out the box on screen, and yeah, hope you guys have an awesome rest of your Wednesday, and I will see you all next time.